Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Enterprise, Season 1, Episode 12, Dear Doctor. So, I wanted to like this episode, I really did, and once we got to the end, I really did like this episode, but the build-up to it was so slow that I had a very, very difficult time being interested, and then when we finally got to, like, the big twist, I was like, oh, that's cool, and then I almost wanted to rewatch it to kind of pay more attention to it, but I didn't do it. So, I've already talked about how Dr. Phlox is kind of like this hidden gem in the series where for whatever reason, I remember not liking him as a kid, but as an adult, I really like his character. I think he's very interesting. So, this whole episode, like, there's a whole subplot of the Doctor trying to date with Cutler, I think was her name, and, like, they go to the movie date, which is now the second time we've at least heard about, first time we've seen the whole movie night experience. We learn a little bit about, like, Dr. Phlox's, like, species where, like, he has 3 wives and each of his wives have 3 husbands, and it's just kind of the way he's brought up, and he's still kind of getting to know, like, what it's like to be around humans, being a Denobulan, which I'm assuming doesn't go well since we never hear about Denobulans again. So the main point of this episode, like the main plot, is we encounter this race of humanoids, and they've talked about how they've been looking for people with warp drive, and they've encountered different species. They actually name drop the Ferengi, and the Vulcans are like, I don't know who that is, which seems unlikely to me, but whatever. And so, basically, their race is slowly dying. And, of course, Hoshi comes up with the universal translator to understand them. But there's also another species of humanoids on this planet as well. And Archer and Phlox both talk about how, like, on most planets, when there's 2 humanoid species, one outlives the other. They basically, like, almost make them extinct to survival of the fittest. Whereas this planet, both have kind of survived. One is definitely more dominant and the other is more passive, but that's the way it goes. And so to kind of jump to the end of the episode, it turns out that this more dominant species is dying. There's some sort of genetic breakdown that Dr. Phlox can cure, but doesn't want to. Whereas the more submissive species, the ones that like can't really talk, don't really go to school, they're just kind of this submissive species, is actually thriving. Dr. Phlox realizes, like, they have intelligence that has just not been stimulated, and they could actually flourish. Now, Archer is like, well, if we have the ability to cure these people, just do it. And Dr. Phlox is like, no, like, this is the way that evolution is affecting this planet. We should let them go extinct because that's the way it goes, and let this other one flourish. Like, if we weren't here, that's how it would happen, and who are we to change that? Which kind of goes back to the whole, like, Prime Directive thing. And the Archer even says, like, well, maybe in the future there's be some directive that says that. It's like, oh, I wonder what you're talking about. So, eventually Archer does kind of turn and give Phlox permission, like, okay, fine, we'll do it this way. They give them a little bit of help for, like, a few years, but they're like, you're gonna have to figure this out on your own. I'm sorry, but we gotta go. But that's where it came really interesting to me. Like, what do you do as an outsider? Like, do you help these people that would die without you, or do you let nature take its course and let these people die and these people thrive? It's a really interesting story, and like, by the time we got to that point, I was like, this is amazing. The whole point getting to this, like, this is the last 5 minutes, like, the whole build up to that, I was just like, this is so bad. And like, this whole race is like, damn your medicine, we just want your warp drive. And that's basically the point where Archer's like, no, and they take off. So, I don't know, I think this could have been done a little bit better, and I understand there were a lot of rewrites going on during this episode because it was so controversial, but I don't know, the whole beginning to me is what needed to be rewritten, not the ending. So, for those who have seen it, what did you guys think? Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for Sleeping Dogs.